There's growing concern about the Aces in the Las Vegas Valley. Sitting at 5-5, the two-time champs, who have been synonymous with success, are suddenly middle of the road in the WNBA. What changed and how concerned should the fans be? We're breaking it down right now here on Sin City Beat.
From Las Vegas, this is Sin City Beat.
What's up, Sin City Beat fam? Hello and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Davis. Thanks for hanging out with us. This time, we're talking Las Vegas Aces basketball, the changes taking shape, the growing concern, and so much more. Joining the action today on the panel, we got Willie G. Ramirez with WGRamirez.com, and two of our own, Mariah Jano, sports reporter with Fox 5 Las Vegas, and Paloma Villicana, sports reporter with Fox 5 Las Vegas. So great to have you guys here. So let's start with this. 2022 and 2023, the Aces won back-to-back WNBA championships. Then last year, they finished second in the West and lost in the semifinals to the New York Liberty. This season, 5-5, they seem pedestrian at best. Willie, how concerned should the Aces be about their early season struggles?
You know, it's funny that we're talking about this right now. It was 1 year ago, just 1 year and a couple of days, I asked A'ja Wilson a question about why she put so much pressure on herself. And you ladies, if you'll remember this, it was the press conference in which she broke down. We've never seen that side of A'ja Wilson, and she got emotional and she talked about her teammates and feeling the pressure. So in reality, this is a team that was somewhat in the same place mentally last year. Panic mode is probably a little ways away, and Chelsea Gray even said to us not too long ago, hey, I hope I'm never talking to you in panic mode during a pregame meeting with production. I just think that right now where they're at is trying to feel themselves with, in a sense, a brand new team. Okay, you have your big three back in terms of Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, and A'ja Wilson, but the rest of this team is trying to blend together. Kirsten Bell is back, but you can't consider her a returner as much as you'd like to because she sat out so much of last year. She's playing a lot more this year already than she did in the entire 2024 season. So when you're trying to bring so many personalities together and trying to formulate a bench when you lost 6th Player of the Year Alicia Clark, not to mention Kelsey Plum, Sydney Colson, this is a brand new team in terms of chemistry and balance, while the rest of the league continues to get better and improve in trying to, and that they've been doing that for a season and a half in trying to beat the dominating Aces that won the back-to-back titles. So those teams have gotten better, where the Aces have sort of just been spinning their wheels realistically for a year and a half.
Okay, so and this is interesting stuff, and I thought you were going to wear red today, Willie, and be even more fiery, but you seem calm and cool, and it's okay right now. Mariah, how do you feel? Are you white hot right now in this white dress, or how do you feel about the situation?
You know, if you look back to last season, it was a similar start. It was a little concerning, and people were like, well, you're coming off of back-to-back championships. Why are you not dominating right out of the gate? But to Willie's point, the league is catching up. Before, the Aces were kind of ahead of the game with Becky Hammon at the helm, and no one had caught on to her schemes and the way she operated, and she was going all out in acquiring the best possible players for her team. Now she's at a point where they feel like they still have that talent. Maybe they don't need to make as many moves, but the rest of the league is catching up, and it's catching up with the Aces. So I don't want to panic too early, but again, to Willie's point, it is essentially a completely new team, and these new pieces haven't really caught on to the Aces mentality that Becky Hammon expects out of her team. The mental toughness has not shown up on the floor at all. Watching yesterday's game without A'ja Wilson, the second game without her, there is such a lack of toughness, especially in the post, and that's where they're getting beaten. That's where they're getting killed right now, and that's where it's been kind of frustrating to see. These new players need to buy in, they need to catch on quick, and they need to up the effort and up the physicality if the Aces want to get back to where they've been in the past. And again, last season, they were at a similar point. This time last year, made it to the semifinal round. We kind of had a feeling that team wasn't really built for a third consecutive championship. This one right now, it's not built for it either.
Yeah, it's interesting. My producer James actually told me before the show, last year, Paloma, 5-5 to start
Yeah,
the season,
yeah.
just like this year. And it's funny, something you and I always talk about in the back office, Paloma. It's your phrase, it's your go-to, dog mentality, right? Dog mentality, and that's what Mariah's really talking about here. It's about the physicality, the front court. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing.
Well, when Becky Hammon arrived on the scene here in Las Vegas, it was that dog mentality that she had. We had Kelsey Plum, everyone there just was so hungry to win another championship. The back-to-back championships, that's what we're talking about, is that hunger on the court, that edge they were bringing for the past couple years. And like Mariah has been saying, they've just been lacking that edge. And we don't want to repeat what happened last year where Becky Hammon every single post game was, we don't have it, we don't have that fight, we don't have that edge, we don't have that defense. I mean, A'ja Wilson can only do so much, you don't want to rely on just her. You got to build pieces around her. But Mariah and I were talking about this offseason of like, man, did they take an L this offseason, not picking up the right players? And, why are they playing soft? Where is that edge? How come every team in the WNBA got better and the Aces didn't? So we need to see that come through, especially with Caitlin Clark coming to Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, every single matchup in the WNBA is so huge. You cannot take your foot off the gas on every matchup. So we're going to see that soon here in Vegas if the Aces can pull through or not.
It's interesting, Steph, when we always talk about staying hungry, especially after 2 championships. Sometimes that is a hard thing to do. But guys, the Aces are missing Wilson as she recovers right now in concussion protocol. But who else do the Aces miss from last season? From Kelsey Plum to Alicia Clark and so many more. Who's been the biggest loss? The panel answers next.
You're watching Sin City Beat.
The Aces took a new shape this season as several key players from their dominant run are no longer with the team. Kelsey Plum, Alicia Clark, Sydney Colson, Tiffany Hayes, and Kate Martin. Even 2 assistant coaches from Becky Hammon's staff in Tyler Marsh and Natalie Nakaze, who went on to become head coaches of the Chicago Sky and Golden State Valkyrie, respectively. So Paloma, out of all of those subtractions, and listen, I'm a journalist. I wasn't good at math, but I know that's all subtractions. There's no additions there. Who are the Aces missing the most?
I think we can't single out one person like we were talking in the commercial break. It's a team effort, team sport. Everyone's got to bring their A game. But the basketball IQ that Natalie Nakase has, Tyler Marsh, just the coaches, but we talked about the chemistry too. You can't just walk onto the court and everything's perfect day one.
Yeah.
We talked about how short their training camp is, how there's always roster moves going on. Like you mentioned, Willie, it takes time to develop that championship culture, that championship mentality. So what I say is maybe from last year it was perfect with the assistant coaches, the relationships that the players had with each other and the coaching staff. A lot of new faces, it takes time, but you don't have time.
Well,
You gotta
listen,
come out
not everything can be a Sin City Beat panel where we just have immaculate chemistry without any,
So true.
Willie just comes into the building and boom, we're ready to go. Dog mentality, woof, woof, But Mariah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of fans at home who are more so casual in nature are probably thinking, Kelsey Plum,
Yeah.
this was a person, especially dog mentality. Look at
Yeah.
that transition there. That was her whole thing. A lot of people are probably thinking Kelsey Plum is the missing piece. Is she the missing piece in your book?
She's one of the missing pieces, like Paloma said, but Kelsey's popping off right now because she joined a team where she could be the dominant player. With the Aces, they've got sharpshooters all around. She wasn't going to dominate every single night. It just wasn't possible. Now you go to the Sparks, and she is the top dog, quite literally. Yeah, she's going to be dropping 30 pieces, 40 pieces. Great for her. In Vegas, though, you still had Jackie Young, who's really picked up the slack this season when it comes to shooting. And, Chelsea, they had their big 4 in play. So sometimes Kelsey was kind of at bay last season. So, yes, it's not great having that loss. Jewell Loyd has been a bit inconsistent. Honestly, without A'ja in the lineup, I feel like Jewell has kind of stepped into that veteran leadership role a little bit more, which has been refreshing to see in the last 2 games. But KP is one of the pieces. Alicia Clark and Tiffany Hayes, though, back-to-back 6th players of the year. The issue with the Aces roster is the lack of depth, right? Yeah. So losing those two, I think, was also huge. Tiffany Hayes was a plug-and-play spark plug in transition, on defense. Just her speed, too, for being an older player in the league, how fast that woman is and how quick she plays. She was just immediate fuel the second she entered the game. And the same with Alicia Clark when you look at it defensively as well, and that's where they're struggling right now, is that defensive lockdown, like toughness, getting back in transition. And those two were so helpful in that last season and in the season before without Tiffany, of course. But I think those two are also a big part of it. And then when you go to the coaching staff, you know, losing Tyler and Natalie, it's not just, you know, the roster that's being reconstructed. The coaching staff, Becky finding chemistry with who she is working with side by side as well. I think it's just like a whole cumulative situation of trying to make it work and trying to fill those voids, but they are big voids to fill.
And you know, it says a lot and it speaks volumes when those two assistant coaches, they don't go on to get jobs at, you know, the same level, lateral moves. These are assistant coaches who now have become head coaches. So it speaks a lot to what they were providing for this team. So Willie, I mean, having heard what Paloma and Mariah had to say, what's your feelings on this? What's the biggest subtraction facing the Aces?
Well, neither one of the ladies are wrong. I mean, it's a collection of when you have your confidant in Tyler and Natalie to turn to and to work with the players and trust that your system is being implemented with those players when you have those bench players. But I'm going to take it a step further, in which nobody's named, including yourself when you introduce this segment. We've seen moves made already early in the first month. Yeah. We've seen trades. We've seen pickup of free agents. We've seen.
I feel like
this team is missing Natalie Williams, the
literally
general manager, who is no longer with it, and someone wearing two hats, being Becky Hammond, wearing the hat of a general manager and a head coach.
Yep.
Who is watching for available players to bring in when we're failing at the depth in terms of the sixth player, the bench, picking up the pieces where Alicia Clark and Tip Hayes are not here any longer? How can she battle or control and sort of be able to do both jobs when she's never done it before? And Becky Hammond is one of the best coaches in basketball. Natalie Williams was part of Team USA. She's been a part of this organization. And I'm not saying for whatever reason they let her go and they went a different direction. That's their business, and there are behind-the-scenes storylines with that. But the bottom line is, what they're missing is a general manager to be able to puppet strings and bring in those missing pieces, because we're seeing other teams pick up the pieces, make trades, and make acquisitions with free agency and whatever it is they need to do. Yeah. They've let one person go in Crystal Bradford. They're waiting for Megan Gustafson and Cheyenne Parker-Tyus. You know, well, she's pregnant, Megan's injured, but the bottom line is someone's got to be watching the player pool. They don't have a general manager.
This is why I have W.G. Ramirez bookmarked on my laptop, because of insights like this. It's a great Willie G. Ramirez. Guys, next, we're talking about what this team looks like without A'ja Wilson. It's a nightmare, and we don't even want to think about it, but we're going to talk about it. Are they still a playoff team without number 22? Stick around. Welcome back to Sin City Beat. How does one describe what A'ja Wilson means to the Las Vegas Aces? She's kind of like Bruce Springsteen to the E Street Band. Sure, it's great to have Max Weinberg on the drums, but they live and die by Bruce. So Mariah Janos, I think we all know this team can't win a championship without Wilson, but can they even make the playoffs without her?
No. We saw it in yesterday's game against the Phoenix Mercury, and granted, Phoenix is big, they are strong, they are very physical, very talented, and the Aces have always had a smaller roster, and A'ja has just been the one like beanpole in the middle of it, holding it down and getting rough and tough in there. But we've talked about it already, that the Aces lack physicality this season, they lack effort. It all stems from A'ja, and Asia's always going all out, but she is, even with her on like playing, it's not enough to get it done. There are not enough pieces in this roster. There's not enough depth either. You got to give A'ja a rest for a second too, because then you're in these situations where she's in concussion protocol and they don't have anyone to fill that void. They had Liz Kitley in, and while she's got the size and she's learning on the fly, she is not physical at all. She's not physical enough. She's letting the ball get ripped right out of her hands. And it's things like that where it's like, no, you need like lockdown players in the post if Asia's not going to be in there. And they just don't have that right now. So, no, I don't see it going well if there's no Asia. I think it's going to be a rough, rude awakening type of season to begin with. Even with Asia in there, there's only so much she can do. And before she got injured, she was leading the team in assists as well.
Right.
Your best player cannot be doing that. She needs to get open. She needs to shoot the ball. She cannot be facilitating as well. That's what you got Chelsea Gray for. So there's just too much falling on her for it to be successful. You can't have this one-man band situation.
Yeah, and I mean, Willie, it's fascinating because there's probably not another player in the WNBA who constitutes the MVP quality more so than Asia, which she really means, and the engine that she provides for this team. But I mean, do you see in any scenario where, let's just say, injuries persist and they start to mount up and snowball, could this team even sneak into the playoffs? Is there enough of a pedigree and just a history of success where we have a good enough situation where this team could actually find its way into the playoffs?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not going to let you disrespect my girl Nafisa Collier from Minnesota, because she can constitute the same type of play that Asia Wilson can.
Shots fired.
She's right now the MVP favorite above everybody with what she's doing. We call her MVP.
Right.
Number one. Number two, Asia Wilson needs to be in this lineup for this team to make a playoff run. The only way that they get into the playoffs without Asia, let's just say she's lost more time or for the season at some point for whatever reason, which I don't foresee it happening, considering the time and effort she puts into her body. A concussion is completely different. It would have to be because the bottom half of the league falls out or beats each other up on the Eastern Conference side, because the West is really tough. I'm going to throw a name out here because in the previous segment I talked about movement and I talked about making moves. The worst team in the WNBA, hands down, without a doubt, maybe not record-wise because the Dallas Wings still have one win, is the Connecticut Sun. The team is lost. The team is a mess, and in my opinion, the biggest potential and upside that they need to build around is J.C. Sheldon, who came out of Ohio State, started with Dallas, and is now with Connecticut. But Tina Charles is a veteran who they could go out and get and bring in and provide support the same way they did with Candace Parker when she came in. Granted, it was at the beginning of a season. Tina Charles could be the missing piece that they could go get and use to help move bodies. Kia Stokes is known as a defensive stalwart, but she's not known, and she's said it before, I don't care about offense, I don't care about my points, I'm in there to play defense.
Yeah, right.
Mariah pointed it out, Liz Kitley, she's a rookie. She was drafted last year, but this is considered her rookie season because she didn't play last year. So until she learns how to push people around, same way we saw with Caitlin Clark last year, same way we saw with Angel Reese, right? They're getting bullied around. Liz Kitley is getting bullied around this year. I wouldn't be surprised if Tina Charles is someone, because Connecticut's not going anywhere, that they try to reach out and get and bring in to help Asia Wilson.
Listen to that, Paloma. We're going to go to you first next block. We're getting heavy there. That was education right there.
Educated.
I wish I had my composition notebook, Willie. There's another big injury concern taking over the WNBA. Yes, full disclosure, this is going to be about Caitlin Clark. Back from injury, the league certainly missed her. We have more on that next. It wasn't just the Indiana Fever that missed Caitlin Clark. The WNBA missed her, and badly. The stunning impact. Nationally televised games were down 55% since her injury. Fever games, in particular, were down 53%. That's all according to the USA Today and Nielsen. And of course, in her return on Saturday after missing 5 games with a left quad injury, Clark filled the stat sheet with 32 points, 9 assists, and 8 boards, handing the reigning champion New York Liberty their first loss of the season. So Paloma, has there ever been a player this significant to the league and the success of women's basketball?
I mean, we've been talking about grit, fight, tough, just what can she do? Coming off a leg injury, 32 points, 7 threes, dominating the Liberty. It's incredible what Caitlin Clark is able to do. We're talking, Willie. Is she the best ever? Maybe. You know, I'm excited to see her career in the WNBA, but She's coming into town on Sunday with the Fever at T-Mobile Arena. And listen, we've been talking about the Aces having that grit, having that fight on both ends of the court. Pray to God that A'ja Wilson is, hopefully in there. But she is just incredible. And, is she going to be the best player to ever play in the WNBA? She's on track for that. I mean, there's no denying her greatness. And when we talk about Becky Hammon and that GM role she's playing, come on, you got to go get Caitlin Clark. Someone's got to steal her. But I know, she wants to play in Indiana for the rest of her life. But, she's just the hottest player.
I can't imagine what you would even have to give up to get a player of her
You
magnitude.
have to clear the entire
You'd have to give up
Clear
everything.
it.
But it's fascinating because the conversation isn't even so much about is she the greatest of all time, but the impact that she brings to the table, Mariah. Have we seen anything like this? The only thing, we have about 90 seconds left, the only person that comes to mind to me is Tiger Woods and what he did for golf.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw it even last year when the Fever came to T-Mobile Arena for the first time. The amount of young girls in Hawkeyes jerseys with their signs for Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin, of course, too. But she has grown the fan base. And it started in college. And I know that it rubs some people the wrong way because there have been incredible players in this league from the jump. And now it's just getting the notoriety and just catching on. But you need someone to do it. Someone's got to be that spark plug. Someone's got to kickstart the fandom and the audience. And she has done an incredible job with it. And she takes it personally. You look at her, how jacked she got this offseason. She went viral for that. Like, she's always trying to get better. And it just translates to the viewership. People want to watch her and how she improves game by game because she's only going up, and she's done incredible things for the league. And I understand that some players get overlooked because of this newfound player, but it's all a good thing, I think.
Well, guys, listen, the impact, it's inspiring what Caitlin Clark has done for women's basketball, women's athletics, and the WNBA. I want to thank my great panel, Paloma Villacana, Willie G. Ramirez, W.G. Ramirez, bookmark that on your laptop, and the great Mariah Janos. I'm Mike Davis. We'll see you next time here on Sin City Beat. We all have that dog mentality in us here. Whoa, 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 whoa.